The best way to describe the company's latest flagship smartphone, the OnePlus 10T, is controversial. And I think it would be an appropriate description because I have seen a lot of people from two different extremes within the spectrum being very vocal about this phone. One camp says that the OnePlus 10T went back to its roots by focusing on pure performance, by being a speed demon, and another camp says that this phone has lost its identity. For me though, I don't have any headcanon about OnePlus itself, and I've only recently reviewed the OnePlus Nord 2T and also the OnePlus One from many years ago, and that is my only experience with this company's products. So in today's video, I'll try my best to objectively look at the OnePlus 10T, so let's begin. Let's start off by the design of this phone. Our particular unit here of the OnePlus 10T comes with the jade green color, which is very similar to the OnePlus Nord 2T's color that we have reviewed not too long ago. It is also available in the moonstone black color, but OnePlus Malaysia doesn't seem to acknowledge the existence of that color on their website. I'm not sure if it's because the moonstone black is not going to be available here, or maybe it's going to be in limited edition units. I don't really know, but yeah, I still can't confirm its existence in the Malaysia market right now because the phone is not even officially launched as the time of this filming. Either way, the jade green color, while it is around my personal favorite hue of the color spectrum, it is covered by an extremely super glossy finish, and it is also very slippery, and I truly wish that OnePlus opted in for a matte finish in this case. And OnePlus also did send us the media box as well, and inside here we have two more official accessories, as in cases for us to play with. The first case here is the OnePlus 10T bumper case, which really isn't a bumper case at all, but it does imitate the original OnePlus One's sandstone finish with an extremely rough texture. The second case inside this media box is the Glacier Matte, which is a funky design, and I have no idea why they call it Glacier Matte. Maybe it's because the red color material here, according to OnePlus, it evaporates to remove heat when the phone becomes hot and automatically rehydrating from the air when the phone cools down. Not sure what that means, but even if this case is meant to be as a utility, it is unfortunate because the case will cover up all of the jade green color of this phone. The only thing exposed here is actually the iconic camera cutout. Now, speaking of the cameras, we do have a total of 3 different cameras on the OnePlus 10T, but this is where I was most disappointed. For some reason, this phone still have a 2-megapixel fixed focus macro camera, and I mean, this phone is supposed to be quote-unquote premium, right? At least give us an auto-focusing macro camera lens, and then I wouldn't complain that much even though it's a 2-megapixel sensor. Anyway, the pictures coming out of this OnePlus 10T is surprisingly good. The main camera is able to get both clarity and colors nicely. Even indoors, the shot looks good. Even at night, the colors are still vivid. As for the ultra-wide angle camera, it's actually pretty decent, and I personally would like a little bit more vividness in its color, but other than that, it's fine. And once again, the 2-megapixel macro camera, I don't know why, but it's better to not exist, honestly. The video mode in this phone is actually quite decent. We can capture up to 4K 60fps using the main camera, but the ultra-wide angle camera is only able to capture up to 1080p 30fps. Now, the performance is obviously something that OnePlus wants to highlight the most because this phone is a speed demon anyway. So, powered by the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset with 16 gigs of RAM for our particular unit here and 256 gigs of storage, this phone seems to be the top of the line, right, in terms of performance. Well, it's kinda true, and we tried the gaming performance of the OnePlus 10T in another video, which you can watch at the top right corner there. And I realized that even with the Pro Gamer mode, the performance of the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 is pretty lackluster compared to the ROG Phone 6 that is also using the same chipset. I don't know why this happens, but it seems like OnePlus is quite aggressive in terms of its throttling. We say this is because the surface temperature reported by our thermal camera is also extremely low. There seems to be a lot of headroom in terms of performance for this phone to push further, but yeah, maybe a software update in the future will unlock that extra performance that we are currently not experiencing on this phone. Also, given that this phone is also using a 120Hz screen, we kinda expected that games like Temple Run 2 or Subway Surfers with unlocked frame rates can run at 120Hz as well, but unfortunately it can't. This phone seems to have a weird whitelist as COD Mobile is able to run at 90 FPS in its ultra frame rate mode. We reached out to OnePlus to ask about this, but their only reply is that they say only a handful of games is able to run more than 60 FPS. For example, Brawl Stars, PUBG Mobile, the update is coming in September by the way, League of Legends, and yeah, that's about it. Now we should focus on the screen. This is very simple as this phone uses a 6.7-inch AMOLED screen with a resolution of 2412 by 1080 and 120Hz refresh rate. The screen does look nice and our colorimeter agrees as well because it covers virtually 100% of both sRGB and DCI-P3 color gamuts with a maximum delta E of relatively high 2.77. The maximum brightness achieved by this screen is only at about 500 nits, which is definitely not bright enough if you want to use under direct bright sunlight. One quick complaint here though is that the under-display fingerprint scanner is way too low and it is just not ergonomic to use. But we do have face unlock if you want to use that. The battery life though is also something that I think is fairly decent. We do have a 4800 mAh battery and tested at 100 nits of brightness, it is able to reach at about 16 hours of usage or so. And we cannot be exact with the number here because the PC Mark X decided to just crash. So yeah, we don't have the exact screenshot and number to display here. As for the charging speed, this is where things get a little bit funky. By reading the tiny text on the charger itself, we can see that this charger is capable of outputting a total of 160 watts. But OnePlus 10T only takes in 150 watts maximum. Also, we Malaysians here are able to take full advantage of this charger because our electrical plugs here fall into the latter category where we use 220 to 240 volts at 50 to 60 Hz. Other regions though is only using 100 to 120 volts at 50 to 60 Hz, which only gets you a maximum of 125 watts. And then when we did our charging test, the OnePlus 10T is able to reach from 12 to 100% in less than 20 minutes, which is the fastest in terms of all the charging speed that we've tested so far. And in terms of the software, this is pretty much identical to the OnePlus Nord 2T that we reviewed earlier. The software in itself is also pretty much identical to Oppo's ColorOS, just with the addition of the OnePlus shelf. Whether you like this feature or not, that's up to you. But for me, I think that the shelf could have been made even more useful if there is third-party app widget support. And also, OxygenOS 12 is extremely clean when compared to Oppo's bloatware-filled ColorOS. However, those 2 points are the only differentiation between Oppo and OnePlus as of now. The iconic and supremely useful OnePlus slider, the alert slider, is no longer available on the OnePlus 10T, and it makes this phone feels very generic in the sea of smartphones because the outstanding feature is now gone. Now, we did ask OnePlus about this and they did mention that the notification slider could come back in future OnePlus phones, but we will definitely be cautious about this claim. And there are a few more things that we need to mention about the OnePlus 10T as well. So this phone is technically IP54 rated in only certain regions. Don't ask me why this is the case, but as of now, only the US version of this phone is certified for IP54. Not sure why. And the OnePlus 10T still uses a USB 2.0 port at the bottom of this phone, which is kind of ironic because OnePlus boasts these phones to be, evolving beyond speed and whatnot. And since it is using USB 2.0, we also do not have the feature to output HDMI signal over its USB Type-C port. So, should you buy the OnePlus 10T? I think the OnePlus 10T in itself is a rather good phone. There are two counter arguments though. Firstly, the 2-megapixel macro camera is just useless. And the other one is that, of course, the missing iconic alert slider is gonna be hurting a lot of its loyal customers. But if you don't use the slider, then yeah, this phone is pretty fine on its own. As for whether or not if it's worth the price, that is something I cannot answer as of now because the Malaysian market price is still not released yet, as in this phone is not even officially available locally. And if the price is above 3,000 ringgit, then I would suggest you to fork out a bit more to get the ROG Phone 6 because that phone has a much larger battery and the cameras on that phone is also pretty much comparable to this, and that phone comes with USB 3.0. So kind of depends on your usage, but that is your alternative. So yeah, if I have the price before the publication of this video, I'll leave it on the screen here, maybe add some additional information on the screen as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video.